My name is Abdiwahab Omar. I'm 18 years old and I'm from Somalia. My neighborhood is a crazy place with a lot of gun violence. A while back, someone got killed and I was shocked. I was raised in a hostile country where there was a war. Guns were like music to the people. They woke up with the sound of AK-47 and slept with a booming sound of mortars. Almost every day, a relative of ours was being killed. We cried all the time and had no fun in life because people never saw anything that would make them laugh. My family couldn't take this no more, so we left Somalia for better opportunities in America, where everyone has an equal chance of succeeding. People go from not having nothing to making money for the first time in life. We moved because of the trauma that was caused by Al-Shabaab and the inhumane treatment of their regime. We moved because of fear that we could be the next people in the graveyard. Believe it or not, my granny Fatuma Mohammed got shot twice. Luckily, she survived both times. She was born in Ethiopia and got married there. She gave birth to her first child, a boy. She was happy about this blessing from God, but she had enemies who were willing to hurt her and the baby. They shot my granny in the hand and the baby in the head. He died instantly in her arms. She held him firmly and got on her knees crying. This was the darkest moment in her life. Even now, when she thinks about it, she just starts crying because she believes that's not the way a human should die, especially a child. After that incident, my granny moved to Somalia to start a new life and to leave everything behind her. In Somalia, she lived a better life with no enemies. She made a lot of friends and gave birth to 8 kids there. Back in the 80s, Somalia was safe and stable country with a rich economic and environmental boom. Somalia was called the New Zealand of Africa because it was so clean. But in the 90s, a war broke out that's still going on today. This left millions of people dead and millions of others displaced. After Al-Shabaab took hold of the power, we decided to move in 2008 for a better life in Kenya. But first, we had to go through the UN process, which was so long. The refugee camp in Kakuma was a hard place to live. We depended on the UN aid for food, housing, hospitals, and education. We stayed there for 3 years and made a lot of friends there. The people were very generous because we all shared the same stories, and they knew my story. In 2011, my family got the visa to America. This meant we had to say our farewell to everyone again, as we did in Somalia. Leaving family members and friends was very difficult, so much so I was crying the whole trip to America. But I was so happy when I landed in America, because I saw my mom for the first time in 6 years. I gave her a big hug. I told her finally, I'm in a peaceful country where I will never hear gunshots again. But when we bought a house in 2015 in South Louisville, everything got worse. Our neighbor 2 doors down sold drugs. His life was going well for him until this one rainy Saturday when some guys with masks come to his house and started shooting. I was sleeping, and at first I thought our house was struck by lightning. I hadn't heard the sound of gunshots for years. I told my mama, is this what we left Somalia for? I would rather die in my country than a foreign country. My mom always told me, be careful, because she doesn't want the same thing that happened to our neighbor happening to me. I take those precautions very serious because I know my life depends on it. I am the oldest of 8 children. I try to be a good role model to them because I know they're watching my every step. They are my number one priority and I'm their hero. If I go straight, they will too. But if I start going left and become something that my parents will not be proud of, they will become that. I like to help them out and tell them to stay away from bad things like trouble, drugs, and anything that would harm their future. I believe we as citizens of this country should live freely and not be worried about guns and being killed as innocents.